Think we're on.
All right.
Well, welcome to the Muddy Creek podcast. Unfortunately, Miss V had some last minute personal issues, and she probably won't be joining us tonight. She may pop in, and we do have a special guest popping in about 15 minutes to help me out here. But tonight we have Samii from Home Paranormal, and you created that.
Yes.
You did. Okay. So I'll give a little short bio that I have. You've had created Down Home Paranormal, and it was created in July 2023. You do private and public investigations.
Yep.
And you are currently putting on a Paracon.
Yep.
This is your first one?
This is my first one, yes.
Okay. And that'll be in October the 3rd through the 5th?
Yes.
On Chestnut Grove Highway in Grampian, Pennsylvania. Yep. Did I say that right? Grampian. Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, if you could give us a short bio, anything I missed or anything else about yourself.
And you basically summed it up.
Okay. So you've been, what type of investigations do you do?
We've been working on where we're holding the Paracon. We've been that's our main focus recently. We've been going out to the church, and I've been taking a couple groups out there so they can see. But we do private ones, like if someone wants us to come in their home, we do that also. But to get someone to commit to that kind of stuff, people are very iffy about it. We haven't had a lot of private ones, but
okay. What got you started in the paranormal?
I loved the paranormal since I was a child. Like, we watched Ghost Adventures and all that stuff, and I told my friend growing up, I said, we're gonna be like those people on TV someday. And so I mean, we're starting there. We're not that big yet, but we're getting there.
How many do you have in your group?
6.
And you've I'm sure got all the equipment.
Oh yeah,
you do. So have you had any interesting investigations?
I think all of them are interesting to me. We did the Grand Midway Hotel. That's in Pennsylvania somewhere. I forget what the town was. We went to the Ross House. That is in Bel Air, Ohio. That one was real good. A lot of it we do locally here in Pennsylvania, like in our little small towns here.
Do you have a lot of paranormal activity around there?
Oh yeah. We're on a lot of Indian burial grounds.
Oh, do you have any encounters in those areas in the burial grounds?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Is it more like disembodied voices or sightings and stuff?
Oh, yeah, okay. Sightings and disembodied voices.
Now, is ghost hunting, is that all you do?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay. Now, so you've been a believer in ghosts for a long time then, since you were young?
For years.
Yeah, I had a dog that passed away, and I buried her right outside my window. She's about 10, 15 feet from my window, and I buried her on a Thursday, and Friday night, all I could hear was her whining outside my window all night.
Aww.
And I called my roommate down because I wanted to go outside. I kept looking out the window, sticking my head out, looking at her grave, thinking that there was another dog there whining at her grave. But my dog didn't have any friends. She wasn't She was more of a protective kind of dog,
Oh,
but I couldn't figure it out. It took me a long time to realize it was her. I tried to debunk it, and
right.
yeah, I tried everything, but I had my roommate sit in my chair, and he couldn't hear anything, and I was standing right next to him, and
Really?
that's when I knew that it was my dog.
Right.
And it took my dog to get me to really believe in an afterlife. I mean, that was I'm a kinda see it to believe it, or,
Right.
it's
Like that.
yeah. Have you, taken any crazy encounters or any that stand out to you? More credible ones than others?
When we were at the Grand Midway Hotel, I remember we were walking up the steps and our like how the banister would like go around to go into another room. We were walking up and we turned to look, a full body apparition. You could see the guy's face, the hat, and he had like this cane thing. That one sticks out to me all the time because it was just right there in your face.
Right. Was he all like one shade of color or like a mist, or could you
It was
see
all
colors of his clothes and skin and everything?
his skin was like more see-through than his clothes, but like his clothes were black and he had a black top hat and he had like a black cane. But like his face, you could see right through it.
Huh, isn't that a popular sighting of a guy in a hat?
Yeah.
It
But
is, huh?
this uh at the place, it was a brothel. So we think it was the guy that ran the place with the ladies.
Oh, the pimp. So that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that all you saw there?
Um, we saw a lot of black shadows there, but that was the one that really stuck out to me.
That was the one. Yeah. Any other really good encounters?
Not that one was my best one so far.
Right. So do you record a lot of voices?
Yeah. Voices, we use that and we use an app called Spirit Talker.
Oh,
And
okay.
that blurts out like words that the spirits are saying.
Right, right. And how I'm pretty sure I've heard that or seen something like that. What did you call it? A spirit talker?
Spirit Talker app on
Oh,
phone.
it's an app. Oh, okay. I know they have those boxes. I forget what they call them. The
Oculus.
the Oculus. Okay. So it's similar to that.
Yeah.
All right. Have you had anything good come across that?
At the church, we get a lot from that says he's coming and I'm gonna touch you.
Ew.
Crazy for being a church. We never thought that the church should be haunted, but it is.
Right. And how old is this church? Very old?
Yeah, it was constructed in 1891.
Oh, okay. Not
So
in use anymore?
not for like congregation, no.
Oh, okay. So it's just basically an empty building now.
The she lady out in California bought it, and she restored it, and she doesn't care what goes in it. She just wants it used. She
Oh,
reached out back in September of last year because she said that when she was waiting for the realtor to come out there, she was like walking down into the basement, and she said that she could just feel something down there. And when she like, because mind you, she's from California, we're in Pennsylvania. She came out and she got like, she just typed in like paranormal groups in the area, and we were the first ones she messaged, and we replied back. And so, like, we're now like the paranormal group of the church.
oh, is that the only event she had?
Yeah, she doesn't come out very often.
Oh, okay. Now, what do you think they are? I mean, why are they still here?
I just think a lot of them have unfinished business.
or nefarious business.
Right.
Jeez, have you come across any demons?
Oh, yeah, that's what we believe is in the basement of that church. Something
Oh,
very
okay. Yeah, that's weird how they end up in a church. I've heard stuff like that before too.
you wouldn't think a house of God would be haunted, but that church definitely
Right.
is haunted.
Well, I guess that's what the demons do. They try to take, something good and turn it bad.
Right,
So, geez, yeah, that is strange.
right.
Any um any other investigations you've done? Or you do mostly private, you say?
Yeah, a lot of them are private.
Any good ones in the homes?
A lot of them is just in the homes. It's we never figure out what it really is, but it's a lot of I wouldn't call it kid activity because it's just like they're opening doors and moving things. They're not being real mean or anything, but it's just like I call it a child because it's just like what a child would do. Just play
Right.
jokes and stuff like that.
I have a question from Riley. How you differentiate between a demon and a spirit?
A demon is okay, so a spirit is like someone that was once alive. A demon was never human at all.
Oh, okay. So you don't think no human spirit can ever become a demon?
Uh if so if you were mean in your lifetime, you're mean in your afterlife. So you could eventually become one.
Right. Or a demonic spirit, you
Right.
know. Right. Huh. Um any other so what would you run into in these places? Spirits, demons, is there anything else?
Just spirits. It
Yeah.
we come across a lot, not a lot of demons, but it's like every once in a while, but a lot of them just random spirits that either died in the house or they just have unfinished business and that's why they're still there. Or yeah.
Or they don't know they're dead, right?
Yeah, a lot of them don't realize they are dead. Like to them we look like ghosts and to us they look like ghosts. So it's like opposite.
Right. Um I was just thinking back in the 80s, the town I grew up in had a 50th year anniversary newspaper that came out, and it listed all the paranormal events that were going on in the
Yeah.
town in the 30s. And one of the things that had happened was during the Depression, and a man had killed his wife with an axe in the basement.
Oh wow.
So yeah, and all the neighbors knew about it. Everyone knew about it. The guy got arrested, taken away. Um, Somebody decided to go mow the yard, and coming out of one of the foundation stones in the house. And now a lot of the houses in New England, you can see about 3 feet, 4 feet of the foundation. Then the house is on top. They used to use flagstone and these granite rocks around the foundation. But out of one of the rocks was this woman's face, like being pushed through the rock, and
Oh,
she was screaming. And you could yeah, and I read about it, and there was a group of us that used to go around to haunted houses down in Mass, and this one was the craziest one I ever saw. We went and checked it out, and I brought a knife with me just to make sure it wasn't something that somebody put on the rock. I tried to see if there was a crease, and it wasn't. This face was like pushed out of the rock. And what it looked like is if you put a piece of saran wrap on your face and it just pushes your nose and your lips back.
yes.
That's what it had, the craziest look to her face, but you could tell she was screaming like in pain. Yeah, in the detail that you could see was crazy. The hair, the eyes, Like this was crazy. So anyway, back in the 30s, once the neighbors saw this face coming out of the rock, and they said back then it was the woman's face. All the neighbors sold their houses and didn't say anything. And that little face was rediscovered many years later. And when they talked about it that in that newspaper article, I went up with a couple of friends of mine late at night because we had to go into this old woman's yard, and we were right underneath her bay window. So we didn't want to disturb her or anything. She eventually started banging on the window for us to get out. But I went in, and I wish I took a picture of it. It was the craziest thing. Hey, Rusty.
Hi, guys. Sorry to be late. I'm kind of a
No, no.
last-minute replacement for Victoria, so I can't
Yeah.
possibly fill her shoes, but I'll do the best I can.
Okay, I'm sure it'll be fine. Rusty, this is Sammy from Home Paranormal.
Hi, Sammy.
Hey, have you been listening at all, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually was eating dinner before
Okay.
or when Victoria asked me to do this. So I managed to finish while listening, so that's good. You know, I had a question for Sammy right now.
All right.
One thing I didn't, and I think Don kind of touched on this a little bit, but how would you define the term paranormal for your purposes? And the reason I ask that is I live in New Orleans, I have for many years, and New Orleans is notorious for all kinds of different paranormal stuff. And
Right.
it's all kinds of different things that maybe you wouldn't ordinarily associate with that term. So I always like to figure out what somebody's definition, in a sense, of paranormal is.
I think paranormal is like spirits and demonic stuff, and yeah, that's like spirits, demonic, and anything that could.
Like
It
other
wouldn't
world.
necessarily include things like UFOs or Bigfoot or other things like that that some people do include.
Well, I guess it would be otherworldly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I hate when they lump Bigfoot in with the paranormal.
Yeah.
It because they're real. A lot of people can see them, but the ghost thing, I know that there's something going on there, but
Yeah.
you don't see it, and I think it's much harder to convince somebody of ghosts and spirits
Right.
than it is Bigfoot.
Absolutely, because there's no quantifiable data that we could use to document or prove, quote, ghosts, where in theory, you could document Bigfoot if you had a body.
Correct. Right.
Right.
Well, Sammy, do you take like requests? Do people like call you and say, I think I have something going on at my house. Could you come help or take a look?
Yes, we do a lot of the private ones. People get a hold of us on Facebook and stuff to come out.
Mostly in Pennsylvania. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Don.
I was just going to ask, are most of those homes older homes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does she make her living doing that?
Go ahead, Rusty.
Is that mostly in Pennsylvania, Sammy?
Yes, we haven't explored out of state yet to do private ones.
Yeah. What part of Pennsylvania is that?
I'm in like DuBois, like by Punxsutawney. Like it'd be like considered Western PA.
Right. No, my in-laws had a cabin for many years in Western Pennsylvania up in Cook's Forest. And then they lived, and they lived, their regular house was in Geneva on the Lake, Ohio, which is kind of right across the line. So they spent lots of time up there. And I know they had several sort of interesting experiences there. So I wondered if you had any knowledge of anything from there.
No, we haven't ever even explored out there, which I don't know why we haven't, because that's only like half hour from here.
Yeah, you ought to at some point. I think it's really interesting.
Right.
Are your investigations only in dwellings, or do you do outdoor investigations?
We do outdoor, yeah, too.
Like in graveyards and stuff like that?
Usually graveyards, yeah.
Are they old graveyards, or?
That's a lot of them here in PA are very old.
Okay. Yeah, I knew a guy that saw an apparition in Arizona, and it was in the middle of the day. Looked like an old cowboy walking down the street, and then he just slowly disappeared. They never saw him again. It was in the middle of nowhere, but who knows what that area looked like 200 years ago,
Right.
Now, that's the thing about Pennsylvania. There have been European settlers there for many years, kind of like New Orleans. So there's been lots of history, documented, recorded history that we have to go on. So presumably we would have lots of documented tragedies and bad occurrences that, you would think would fertilize the ground, I guess, for the creation of ghosts or paranormal.
Right.
Now, what do you think? I notice there are some areas that are more concentrated with these type of events. Do you have any theories on why they would be in certain areas and not in others?
More like if there was more tragedy there than not.
Okay, and older, you know.
Yeah.
So, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Like
I was gonna
newer
say, Sammi,
places.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Sammi.
Like newer houses that because we just went and investigated one like just a couple years ago or so. It was like a newer house, and we never got anything from there. Like it was completely silent that night. But a lot of it is older stuff we get.
Sure. So what would your process be, Sammi? So for example, my house in New Orleans, my old house in New Orleans, was built in 1880, and there have been reports that one of the builders, who was a retired Confederate general, had been seen in the house. What would you, if I called you and said, could you come investigate the house? What would you do?
We would bring out our equipment, we'd set it up, and we'd start.
Tell me what that involves.
When we get there, usually we'd ask like the person, where have you seen that person at, and that will be our like main focus point. And then we'll start there, and then we'll work our way around the other places.
So what devices do you use for, to try to catch data?
REM pods, EVPs, SB7s. We have a portal. We have a tripwire. And like we have recorders. That's about it.
And who do you work with? Do you have a team that goes with you to do something like that?
Yes.
How many
There's
people
6.
do you take with you? 6. Okay.
6.
Does everybody have a specific job?
No, we just, when we get there, we're like, who wants to do whatever? And we take on that.
How long does an investigation typically last, or is there any way to say that?
It varies place to place. If we don't really get anything, we're not there that long.
Sure.
What's your most productive device?
Definitely the portal. That's when because it connects to the SB7 and it scans through radios and you could hear the voices and stuff.
So is that like a spirit box that some people talk about, Sammi?
Yes. We just call it the portal.
So how many years have you been doing this? Doing these investigations?
We created the group in July of 23, but we were doing stuff like years prior to that. But we just in July of 23, we're like, let's just build a team and do this for more than what we were. We do it more often than what we were back then.
Kind of more organized, I guess.
Yeah.
Has anyone on your team had a an experience when they were younger, kids?
Oh yeah. A lot of
Oh,
us
they
had
did.
experience since we were.
Yeah, I know they say children are more open to it, and they do see a little bit more. You know,
Have you
I
had
had
an experience like that, Sammy?
Spirits more pure. When I was a kid, yeah. Growing up, I was living with my mom, and like me and my friend were upstairs in the room, and we heard like because my mom worked night shift, so she wasn't home. So we were there by ourselves, and we heard knocking downstairs, and we walked down the stairs, and we're like, mind you, this is in the middle of the night. And we got down the stairs because we heard the knocking, and then like all you could hear was pots and pans fall after that, and get into the kitchen. And when we turned the kitchen light on, and you could see this black shadow just it like went very fast from the kitchen to the living room, really fast.
Do you get many poltergeist activity or reports?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, we've got a
Okay.
question from Riley from the chat. How do demons gain access to a person? Through sin, objects, rituals, and are there levels of demonic power or hierarchy? Go ahead, Sammy. Give us your take on that.
It could be like I've seen well, not seen, but like seen like reports that it doesn't they could just be minding their own and it happens. But then like if you are doing like rituals and stuff, like you can get.
And Riley follows up with, how do you analyze evidence to rule out false positives?
Usually like uh, um just over when we do it over and over again. Like if it happened once and we think, oh, that was a ghost, we try to see if it'll do it again.
Now, how would you define that as or let me back that up. Is there a difference in your minds based on that between a so-called residual haunting versus an active haunting? I've had people tell me that they believe there is a difference in that. What do you think?
Residual is what that person did in their lifetime. And the other one's not.
Yeah. I've had people tell me that it's sort of the leftover energy from the individual. So it's like replaying a tape or a film or a video or something, whereas the active haunting is somehow the spirit is still around in some form or fashion and is, acting on its own, of its own free will.
Yeah.
Have you heard of any? I've heard, I don't know where I heard it, about entities that are controlling other entities in the same house or dwelling. Have you come across anything like that where there's one entity that seems to be the nefarious one, then the other ones just be quiet and hang out quietly?
If there's like how I was saying that one place that it was the pimp, he kept those girls quiet so that those girls' spirits wouldn't talk. He came through more than they did.
So there are multiple spirits there in theory.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. I really wonder if that's a demon controlling them, or just a demonic entity, I guess. But like you said, excuse me, if you're a bad person in life, your afterlife, you're not going to change too much,
Right.
See, I had friends of the family. The girls used to see an old man walking around the upstairs of the house in the bedrooms while these two young girls were sleeping. And it went on for years. And then her dad, now the house was what they call a captain's house. It had a captain's perch up at the top. And they were redoing the house and all the shutters around the house. And up in the captain's perch, when they took off one of the shutters, there was a bone that was carved into the face of this captain. So it was he probably did it himself. When they removed the bone, they removed all activity.
Really?
The girls never saw the guy again. And I don't know if it was the bone. I know they still have the bone somewhere, but I don't think it's at the house. Have you ever heard of any items that draw in spirits or follow, that are attached to items?
If that spirit was, when they were alive, if that object meant something to them, then that's why they're still around, because that object meant a lot to them.
So you think it was the object keeping the spirit there?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was just, I always wondered about that, because this was just a little bone, but it was a perfect image of this old sea captain at the top of the bone. It was very strange.
Right.
We all got to look at it, but they got rid of it out of the house for the girls' sake. I
can believe that.
Yeah. Do you have any other taken any encounters or any other stories where there's items that these spirits are attached to items?
We haven't came across a lot of those.
You haven't? Okay.
So do you think it's more associated with the building or the space where it's in, rather than a vehicle or an individual object, like Don was suggesting? How do you can you tell?
Oh, wait, say that again. Sorry.
So is the spirit more associated with the building that it's in? In other words, does it remember being home somehow, or remember being in the place where it had some particular trauma or something, rather than being attached to a specific item like the bone he was talking about?
Well, if that person had a lot of good memories or bad tragedy, they could come back there because they still have business to finish.
Sure. No, that makes sense. By the way, I like the name Down Home Paranormal. It just sounds like it's fun.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, about the buildings again too. Are they mostly wooden structures or stone structures, or is it just?
It's all different.
It's all different. Okay. I used to think that years ago that somehow their energy could be trapped in the granite or the stone. Something that can hold energy. A granite can hold energy. Now, my mom's family, when anyone dies in the family, we don't do it anymore like this. But I remember when my grandmother died in the late 70s, they keep her in the house for 3 days.
Oh.
When my grandfather passed, my mom was a teenager. They had his body in the house for 3 days before they remove him. And everyone who was in that house got to see him walking around the house. And if you go back in time, a lot of cultures did that. They would keep the body right there for 3 days. And I don't know if there's something about that 3 days, but it's to give you a chance to say goodbye to them, is why my family did it that way. Have you ever come across any people that have passed and within a day or two?
I've never, no.
Oh, okay.
Don, they used to do the same thing in New Orleans a lot. People would keep the deceased family member in the house for some period of time. I don't know that it was necessarily 3 days, sometimes longer.
Do they still do that down there?
Pardon?
Do they still do that down there?
Some people do. you know, there are obviously lots of transplants who don't, and I wouldn't necessarily, but I know there are people who do. I remember there was just a few years ago, there was a woman who was a very prominent socialite in town, and I'm blanking on her name right now. But at any rate, they had a party after she died, and they propped the body up in a corner, and
Oh,
like
wow.
had her smoking a cigarette and have a cocktail in her hand. And anyway, so that I mean so that has happened in New Orleans. New Orleans is, no, as I said, notorious for odd things.
Yeah, there's many cultures that do that. They keep the bodies even after they mummify. They bring them out, and like you said, they'll put glasses on, sunglasses, a cigarette in the mouth, and
That's
I don't
crazy.
know if they see them then, but yeah, it's. I think that, I mean, this goes all the way back to the Egyptians. They
Right.
revered death. You know, they knew there was something after death. You know, well, a civilization that was around, what, 8,000 years would probably see a lot more than and know a lot more about it than we would, you know.
Right.
Sammy, do you have any family background in the paranormal? You know, any of your parents, grandparents, or other relatives?
My brother, he was in it. He used to be in TAPS, the part of TAPS in Pittsburgh.
That's cool.
Yeah, what does that stand for?
I'm not sure. It used to be a TV show.
Right. It was those two guys,
Oh,
Jason
TAPS?
and yeah,
Yeah, TAPS.
Oh, yeah, out of Rhode Island?
yes.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that's
He's
And I can't
interesting.
remember what it stood for now.
mm-mm.
Yeah, I forget too. That was one of the first ones.
Yeah.
Jeez, aren't they
It was
doing
like the
it?
Atlantic Paranormal Society or something like that.
Oh,
Something.
that sounds good. It works.
But yeah,
Now,
he's the only one in my family besides me that is into it. The rest of the family do not believe into it. My mom thinks I'm crazy. She's like, you're gonna become possessed or something. You're messing with the devil. I get that a
that's
lot.
do you ever worry about that being attached?
No, I don't know.
Do you do anything to prevent it?
Recently, we've been getting into the crystals and stuff. Like we usually keep one in our pocket. But other than that, like we used to free ball it, I guess I'd call it. We'd go in and not really have anything. But a lot of
Jeez.
the time, like before we'd go in, we'd say like a prayer or something. But like going in, we never carried anything on us.
Huh. Yeah, I guess if you have an item, I guess the item really wouldn't matter as long as you believe that it would protect you. I think it would. You know, I have a cross around my neck, and I always believe that will protect me. It's been blessed, so I think I'm good. I hope.
Yeah, there are lots of items in New Orleans with those kinds of properties, supposedly, and there's some overlap between the voodoo beliefs and Roman Catholicism. So there are
Yeah.
all kinds of objects that seem to be somehow valuable as in a spiritual name. You know, the Black Cat Bone was one there have been songs about that, obviously, but it seems to be a real thing to some of the practitioners around here. Anything like that you know of in your area, Sammy?
Mm-mm. Not that I know of. No.
No. Do you use sage at all?
We used to when we like first started into it, but then like I was told that could amplify more of the activity. Like you could like piss it off or make it mad. So like we just quit doing that because we didn't want to do that to make them mad or amplify the energy.
Yeah, you don't want to poke the bear. You know. Have you ever had any investigations that got a little nervous?
The Ross house. That one made me nervous. You could just feel the energy in the house. It did not feel right.
So it was a feeling. That got
Yeah.
you nervous? Okay.
And usually, like, I go in and I'm not scared, but that place just gave me, just walking through that door just gave me, like, it made me sick to my stomach. It was just, it's like it was making me sick.
Ah.
And
So
this is
that
the
you,
Ross house, you said, Sammy?
Yes, in Bel Air,
Where
Ohio.
is that one? I'm not familiar with that one.
Bel Air, Ohio.
is that a pretty well known place for hauntings?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay.
And you
Yeah,
Is
mentioned
it
a
a,
hotel before too that you had explored, right? What was the name of the hotel? And is that still open as a hotel?
He uses it. You can rent out the rooms. Each room's like a themed room, like a Frankenstein room, a vampire room, the casket room. Like, this guy came from Hollywood and he brought a lot of, he calls it his junk, but his junk he brought in, and he rents out the rooms, and but you can either rent out one room for like $100, or you can rent out the whole hotel with 30 some rooms for 400. And you have,
Is there a history behind that? In other words, is there something you
it was
suggest?
a brothel.
Oh, that's what you were talking about, was the brothel. Okay. Okay. And where the
And there was like,
pimp seemed to control the girls.
yeah, oh yeah, he did not like those girls to talk to us whatsoever.
huh?
Was
Yeah,
it
He
so
specific
wasn't.
to any area within, like a particular room in the hotel, or just all
He
over?
was everywhere. He was everywhere.
you feel like he was following you?
Yeah, I think he was watching us, seeing what we were doing, because we were trying to mimic, like, because there was a bar down. Well, it used to be a bar, and it was set up, and we were like, we'd like call up the stairs, and we'd be like, "We have men down here, girls," and like to try to stir up the activity and stuff a little bit. And when you could just feel he was down there watching.
Sure, you could
Huh.
see where a brothel would be a likely place for something like that to happen, with all the emotion and all the bad things and bad energy, I guess, that goes on there. So that certainly makes sense.
And there was a murder in there. Some guy killed a lady.
Oh.
And I think that's not uncommon in a lot of brothels too.
Do you think the way these people die have anything to do with them sticking around?
Yeah. Like, those
Yeah.
girls lived there and they worked there, and some of them died there, and they're stuck there.
Geez, I'm sure some children did too. You know,
Oh yeah.
during birth, probably. You know, do you come across many child investigations or child spirits?
We have come across children spirits, but then like you have to like put that in the back of your head. Is this really a child, or is this something demonic? Because the demonic can mimic a child.
Right. Now, when they mimic a child, aren't they usually trying to, trying to get I don't know, converse with you in a childlike way? Or do you come across children that are afraid?
We do come across children that are afraid. And then we do come across the children that do talk to us.
See, I wonder if that could be the difference, you know? The ones that are trying to get your attention, trying to make some connection with you, could be the ones to look out for.
Right.
You know,
Sammy, have you ever considered doing any kind of research into what it would take to release these spirits? In other words, to let them move on to the other side? Is there a ceremony or ritual? Is there anything that you know of you could do, or have you ever tried anything like that?
I've never tried anything like that.
so
I'm like,
you've never told any of them to go to the light?
We have told, like, not just children but other spirits to go to the light, but whether they do or not, I don't know.
You don't know, right?
Yeah, that's the whole problem with ghosts and the paranormal, is you can't objectively define anything, so it makes it very difficult to say whether they did or not.
Right. That's true. Yeah, it's always baffled me why they stay. You
Right.
know, like I know what you're saying about some having unfinished business, but then there are others that seem like they're not happy where they are. You
So why
know,
do they stay?
why
Exactly.
do they stay? Right.
It makes you wonder if there's a person that's not allowing them to cross over to that way.
Yeah.
Something not allowing it.
Right.
Right. But wouldn't you think like God would open a door for them to come up or down, wherever, you know?
Mm.
Yeah, I've always had many questions, you know, why they would stay and why they stay
Right.
in one dwelling. And now some will stay in a dwelling and they don't seem to go outside of the dwelling.
Mm-mm.
Right. Now, do you have any any investigations or hear any encounters where people are walking around a house and that are also found to be in the house?
We've heard walking in the house.
Okay.
We just recently moved into this house, and we've only lived here for like 2 weeks now, and that's all you hear is walking all night long.
Yeah.
Oh, so
When
this is your house that you live in now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Had
Now,
there
when
been
you
any reports before you moved in of activity?
Mm-mm. We had no idea who even lived here before us. No.
Hmm.
Now, when you do investigations, do you stay in the house or do you go outside also?
We go inside and outside.
Right. In all the buildings on the property or just mainly the house, or
We go into both.
you do? You check everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any time of night that is more popular for gathering evidence?
Not. We've gotten evidence during the day. We've gotten evidence at night. Me, a time doesn't really stick out to me that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we always hear everyone's heard of the witching hours,
Right.
you know, and things seem to happen. So these investigations, what do you do with all the what's your end game with all this information you're gathering?
Like, what do we do with it?
Yeah, are you just
We
holding
just
on to it or write a book or
we're just holding on to it, and then like we review it, and then we give it back to like if we did a private one, we review that footage or evidence with it.
Do you publish it anywhere, Sammy? You on a website or, like, as Don said, in a book form?
No, I've never wrote a book. I don't think I could ever write a book.
well, you could just fill it with all your evidence, you know.
Right. People
Do
have told me that. They're like, with all this stuff you guys have, you guys need to write a book. And I'm like, we should.
How many
Have you
places do you think you've investigated over the years?
Oh God, a lot. Probably like 60 plus.
Oh. Have
Over
you
how
ever
many years?
Oh, sorry.
Well, we started the group in 23, but we were doing stuff years prior to that.
Is it just human type spirits you get evidence of, or do you ever hear animals or anything other than human spirits?
No, we've just like a year or so ago, when people tried to tell us it was like I call them demon dogs or hellhounds or whatever. We've heard those like with our own ears.
Huh.
Have you been able to record any of those?
When it did happen, we were leaving. We already had all our equipment packed up. And when you
Boy,
hear
that
that,
would be great if you could.
right. It's always usually stuff like that happens when you're not recording.
Right.
It's like they know when you're not recording because it happens to us all the time. Like when stuff happens and we're not recording, it's like they know we're not recording.
Right.
Seems that
right.
way sometimes.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
in
I
the
have.
South, one of the common things that you mentioned on animals, the concept of the ghost cat is pretty common in the South or Southeast. And there's all kind of manifestations of it. You know, the cats or cats in general have been associated with lots of different, you know, spiritual, demonic, evil things. And there are many reports of ghost cats in the Southeast. Anything like that in the area you're in, Sammy?
Not that we've ever came across. No.
Yeah, one note to that. The domestic cat is never mentioned in the Bible.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, for some reason, it's just not there. And there are a lot of people that look at a cat and get freaked out for some reason. You know, it scares them. You know.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
cats have so much personality, and their faces are so vivid. You know, they have such emotion expressed in their faces. It's
Right.
fascinating.
jeez. Have you ever heard of any ghost cats, Sammy?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I met when my dog passed away. I was telling you I heard her whining, so I contacted a veterinarian who keeps all these. She collects these stories of ghost dogs and ghost cats, and dogs whine, and cats will jump on the bed while you're sleeping, or they leave little tracks around the house. It's funny, but it only seems to be right after they pass.
See,
Yeah.
Well, as long as they don't pee on the floor.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that'd be a. Oh,
That
go
would
ahead.
really make you mad.
Yeah, if you could find it. I've never seen ghost pee. You know?
Just a few weeks ago, we were out at the church, and this one girl came with this group. She came with us, and I never met this girl, never knew her to this day. Like, never knew her, and she came in. She's like, she asked me, she's like, do you like? 'Cause she can see things. She's like, did you used to have a little white dog? And I was like, yeah. Mind you, no one knows that I had that dog when I was a kid. And she's like, every time you walk, he follows you. And I said, okay, well that makes sense, because there's sometimes I lay in bed and you can like, 'cause I don't have any animals now, like dogs or anything, or cats, and you can feel like the energy like go up, like a dog jumping in bed, and then you know how like a dog will go in circles before they lay down, and he'd go in circles and lay down, and you could feel the pressure against my legs, and there was no animal there. Like, no live animal, anyway.
Yeah, that night my dog was whining out in the window. I went outside and I squatted down to the ground and was holding my hands out, see if I could feel anything or smell anything, and I never did. And what was weird is I would sit in the house next to the window and I would hear the whining. I'd go outside the window, I wouldn't hear any whining. I'd only hear it in the house from the window. Yeah, it went on all night. It went on for hours, 3 or 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and just the second night. It didn't happen the day she passed. She passed on a Thursday. I heard it Friday night, and then nothing after that. So, but I was told it was because I buried her right outside the house.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Who knows?
But the dog was very attached to me. Always had to be by my side. She was a funny dog, you know, very protective. So I rescued, well, I guess I dog napped her, but someone had her inside a little shed. She couldn't even lay down. There was a lawnmower and other stuff in there. They had a litter of dogs, and she was the spaz. She wouldn't sit still. She jumped on everyone. So they put her in this shed, and she lived in the shed. So a friend of mine wanted the dog, so we went up there one night and we freed her. But I ended up with her, so I think it was meant to be. She definitely
Sounds
was.
like.
Yeah, she was so like possessive. And, and I stepped outside one day, and I think I was having like a panic attack. First one I ever had. I think I've had like 2 or 3, but she was behind the house. I was out in front of the house, and I came outside and just knelt down to the ground. She came running around that corner and started hitting me with her snout to lift my head up, and kept nudging me, trying to hit me with her snout. And finally, I had to hold her face, and I'm going, I'm all right. I'm all right. Just, relax. But they have that sixth sense,
They
that
can sense things that humans can't.
right. Yeah. I thought that was pretty amazing,
Oh yeah.
what she had done. But I think it was the connection with me is why I could hear her. Because I've had other dogs and I've never heard that. I've had cats, never felt a cat or anything, but all my cats are outdoor cats. That connection really isn't there.
It's not
I
the
don't know.
same.
Not like it was with the dog. So
We had a cat for 16 years that just died a few months ago, and it was very attached to me. The cat is buried out in our backyard. So I was kind of, looking around or kind of wondering if we'd seen. We haven't seen anything yet. So
right. Huh. So I had a question for you, Sam. Oh yeah. Now these investigations in these places you investigate, is there any connection, or is most of your investigations are the spirits connected to that dwelling?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, like with the church, though, I mean, there's a demonic
Trying to
spirit there.
figure it out. Well, it's also attached to a cemetery. So we also get got people from the cemetery that just wander in. Like the preacher that died there. Well, he didn't die there, but he was a preacher and died. He's still there, and he's come across like the spirit box, and he keeps telling us to don't go down to that basement. So we think like he knew what was there before he died. He knew something was down there, and he was protecting the congregation from it.
did you ever find out what was down there, Sammy?
We from just the stuff we've seen, and we have a picture of we caught not black eyes, but 2 red eyes on camera from down in that basement. Let me pull it up and show it to you. I said it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. You see those red dots?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No lights were on, and my friend was just videoing, and she was going through evidence, and she messaged me the one, and she's like, look what we caught in that basement.
Huh.
But you never figured out what it potentially could have been.
Not yet, but we go there so frequently, and we figure the more we're there, the more we're gonna find out.
Sure.
Did only the camera pick that up? Could you guys see it?
We couldn't see it with our own eyes. No. And it was like pitch dark, and she was just like going around in the room with the phone. So I don't even think she was really even paying attention. She was just going around. But there has been deaths at that church. Ronald Dunworth and Brian Bilger were electrocuted on July 1st of 1982 while working on the church roof. They both died instantly. It was like a freak accident. They had ladders up on the church, because they were working, because it caught on fire back in the 40s, 50s. And they were fixing it up, and where this church is, the wind always blows, and so they were up there, and they flew. The wind took them both on both their ladders, flew back into the electric lines, and they instantly died because they got electrocuted, and they laid there in that front lawn for 15 minutes before anyone found them.
Huh.
Huh.
So we know that those two guys like died there for sure. And
Have
there
you
was-
ever picked up their spirits there?
Yeah, and they don't even like realize they're dead. They're so confused.
Yeah, I know. I saw a comment from a little twisted said a lot of times it's unfinished business or is traumatic deaths that keep people there.
Mhm.
Because yeah, I wonder if they, like you said, they don't even know they're dead.
These boys were at like 21, 22. They were very, very young.
Oh, I wonder how time passes for them. You know, you figure after many, many years of being in the same place, you would
Right.
realize, something happened. I can't leave. I wonder if that's what it is. They can't leave that area. You know, I don't know. I've always wondered about a few of those things.
You know,
So
we got
these
a couple of questions in the chat that we kind of overlooked, I guess, because we got off on something else. But Riley asked any Dogman Bigfoot encounters, and we kind of mentioned that. Did you anything to add to that, Sammy?
I've never seen either of those.
Okay. And then her other question, Riley's other question was, does she, referring to you, does she document her investigations like video, audio? In other words, do you keep a video record or audio record of what happened?
Yes. Yep.
Can
now
somebody
what if-
access that? In other words, if somebody came to you and said, can you share that information? Is
Yeah,
that possible?
Like if they came to me, I'd show it to them. Yeah.
So what's the best evidence you've documented?
I think all of it is.
Right. I mean, is there one that's really outstanding that really made you think, you know?
There was a picture that I got from, we were in a cemetery and we were just like going around taking pictures, and there was this guy. You could tell he was from some kind of war because he was like looking. You could see just full body apparition.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's kind of the holy grail, is to see a whole body apparition.
Right.
Any Civil War investigations?
No, but I think that's where that guy was from, was in the Civil War.
Were there Civil War battles in your area there, Sammy?
Here it is.
Oh, cool. That's a good one.
Wow.
Looks like he's kind of looking down towards the ground.
Yeah.
Now, could you see him with your naked eye or just the camera?
Just the camera.
Just the camera. Okay.
Like see his eyes and his nose.
Yeah.
Like, his head's like, what are you guys doing?
Jeez. Do you go
Now,
into
were there any Civil War battles, or did you know of any in that area, Sammy?
Not that I know of, but there's a lot of them from the Civil War that are buried around here.
Sure. A lot of guys who fought in the war came back and were buried in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Is just at the church that we're doing the Paracon at. Oh, there was veterans from the fallen wars, like Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and Gulf Wars that are buried. Just at that cemetery.
Oh, they're all traumatic deaths. You know?
Yeah.
You know, Gettysburg is notorious. Gettysburg in Pennsylvania is notorious for that. One of the biggest battles of the war. And many people have documented various things in Gettysburg. How far are you from there?
Like 4 or 5 hours.
Okay, so you're on the other side of the state, basically.
Do you have any plans to investigate Gettysburg?
I've always wanted to go to Gettysburg, but I've always said I never wanted to drive alone there. That drive was going by yourself.
Well, you can drive there alone. You'll probably come back with
Right.
someone sitting next to you. You
Yeah.
know?
Get on the
Jeez.
Pennsylvania Turnpike from Western Pennsylvania and go all the way across the state.
Right.
Do you ever get any hitchhiker investigations, like a certain stretch of a road where a hitchhiker is seen?
We've never came across that yet, but
Yeah,
I've
good.
heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I know of one in Massachusetts, Route 44 in Rainham or Taunton, and people see a hitchhiker in the same area.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they've been seen there for many, many years. I always see that. I always wonder, like, what are they doing? I don't. Maybe they got hit by a car, and that's why they're still there. I
Right.
don't know. They don't know.
Those are hard to explain.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I wish there was someone you could. I mean, some way to figure it out. It's a tough subject to investigate.
Oh
I
yeah.
suspect a lot of those tales about ghost hitchhikers or whatever you want to call them are probably more urban legends than anything else, but that doesn't rule out the possibility that there couldn't be something to it.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Now I know this one down in Mass is still being seen today. Every
wow.
once in a while you'll hear about it, and they put it in the papers down there. Well, I don't even know if they have a newspaper out anymore down there, but they used to always talk about it because it was so well known. Now, have you been to like Pittsburgh or anywhere doing any investigations into the old part of Pennsylvania?
That's where that hotel is. That Grand Midway. That's down in Pittsburgh, down near there.
Okay. Now, is there any specific area in that hotel?
No, it was all that.
Oh, okay. And
Now
that's
I know what you're talking about, Sammy. And out the Grand Midway Hotel in Pittsburgh. Now I understand now. Yeah, that's a big old hotel in downtown Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Had some questions that were pending up here, so I just threw them up there. I'm sorry, guys, and thank you for bearing with me tonight.
You're very welcome.
Yep, no problem.
I was trying to listen, but I was trying to do some personal stuff too. This is Shawnee. Shawnee's in the house because she's having surgery on her ear, so she just crashed the show. And
we had a discussion about cats just a few minutes ago.
Oh, what about cats?
The devil's right hand.
No, they are not. I always heard of the devil dog, not the devil cat.
Well, I had mentioned that domestic cats are never mentioned in the Bible.
And what's your point?
Just saying, a fun fact.
I never read about giraffes in the Bible either.
True.
So
Noah's Ark.
Riley said cats eat people after death. I do have a question. When you're going into an area and you're investigating, and Shawnee's fixing to crash the show, and you're investigating, and how do you pick your team? What do you look for?
A lot of them are just my friends.
Do they have to be level-headed, or?
Yeah, they know that I don't deal with like them joking around or messing around. They know, like, before we go in there, that stuff stays outside. You don't go in there messing around.
Are you all skeptics? No. Okay. A little bit of skepticism's okay.
Oh, speaking of cats, there you go, Farrell.
There you go. Good shirt.
Facebook purchase. I mean, I had so many questions. I was trying to listen in the background, but like I said, I was a little bit busy. So, what do you think your ideal night would be? I mean, do you always go at night, or do you go some places during the day? I mean, is there anything to the 3 a.m. hour that you have an opinion on?
I mean, there's some people that believe in that, but to me, activity happens all the time, and I think definitely depending on where you're at with that 3 a.m. stuff. Like I think depending on where you are at, it may amplify.
Do you think the moon phases affect your activity?
Yeah.
How so?
Like, because last night there was like that blood moon, and you could just feel the energy. It was just different than a normal night.
I know in law enforcement, our calls went sky high and the crazies come out.
Yep.
You know, the medics roll harder, fire rolls harder. The psych would get, or the psych ward. My mother worked up there, and she said on a full moon, it's just,
Bad.
it was crazy up there. And I mean, homicides go up. But I also know that there's a differentiation, like if someone's buried in a grave, unmarked grave, that there's a differentiation. It's during the full moon. I think the gravity changes, and you can actually see, if you're looking for a grave, you can see the grave better. I think during the full moon phase, because there's something about the ground that draws the dirt back in. And I think back in the old day that was a technique that was used to find old graves that had been there for a while.
Oh, I can agree with that. My medical training was at the old Charity Hospital in New Orleans, and it was notorious for being very busy during full moons. You always knew it was always busier with every part of the hospital, not just the ER or emergency room, but labor and delivery and virtually everywhere else. For some reason, was busy all over.
Wow, I can agree to that one. The jails get full, people get crazy. Shawnee, you got to go, Mama. Domestics are all over the place. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know if you can see her little ear, but she's got to have surgery. So she come in from the cat habitat. You see that?
No.
Does she have a
Luckily,
tumor there on her ear? Is that what that is?
it's benign. They are going to take it off the same time they spay her, but they had to gave her antibiotic, and it literally went down half the size. So now they got to take the rest off. So she's in the house for a few months. She'll have her surgery in about 2 weeks.
We had a cat that, in fact, the one that died just a few months ago, had a mast cell tumor on her ear, just like that. It looked very similar to hers, that they excised, and she did fine after that. We didn't give her any other treatment or anything. She lived another 10 years. So I would tell people, the cat's a cancer survivor.
No, and the owner was an oncologist. Daddy was an oncologist. So I mean, Sammy, you got a lot of things coming up, right? What's your end goal with your events that you're having, and who's going to be there? And
Oh, you want to know who's going to be there?
we just like to know, put it out there for those that watch, what it's going to be about and how it come together. And
Let me pull up that flyer. There's a lot of people coming.
Riley,
All them off the top of my head. Just bear with me.
well, while you're looking for that, do you have other interests outside the paranormal, or is it just, do you just have that hub that sparks your interest in that?
Just the paranormal. Right.
So when someone reaches out to you, what kind of questions do you ask them? Or do you freelance?
I just freelance.
Okay.
I don't have really certain questions that I ask them. All right. Are you ready for our list?
Absolutely.
Dan Lidham, Matt Jackson, Tabitha Moore, Ed Brown, Tom Dubb, Diane Lynn, Eric Altman, Becky Curtis, Ryan Cavaline, Andy Hamilton, Ryan Singer, and then like our big guest is Stan Gordon.
So you're having an event, Sammy, that these people are coming to. Is that correct?
Yes. Down Home Paracon.
Okay. What is the date and location of the event? Let's publicize it here.
October 3rd through the 5th. It's going to be at 4867 Chestnut Grove Highway. It's at the Old Methodist Church.
Is the public invited?
Yeah, there's tickets to general admission is $60 for all 3 days. And if you want VIP, it's an additional $30. We're doing the first Friday night, we'll do an investigation. Saturday night will also be an investigation, but Matt Jackson created a device called Prism. He's the one that created it, has not even been out yet. It's going to be the next big thing in paranormal investigation world. It doesn't hold a database, nothing. Ed told me that he witnessed it before, and it doesn't hold a database, so the words that it's spitting out is actually the spirits talking.
Oh,
So that's
cool.
a conference and not a big ghost hunt.
Yeah.
So for someone that's in the Pennsylvania, I guess you would go to surrounding states. If they wanted to reach out to you, how would they find you?
At Down Home Paranormal, the group on Facebook.
Is there?
Are you investigating the church?
Yes.
No. Well, that should be interesting.
Church and the cemetery.
Do you think historical houses are overrated? Did I miss something?
No.
Everybody, literally,
Not specifically. Not specifically.
All three of you just got this look on your face. I mean, sue me, it was a question. I think they're overrated. I don't think everything that's historical has that kind of validity to it. Okay, all right, Rusty, what's your opinion on that? Because your eyebrows went a little higher than Don's.
Well, we did talk a little bit about that, and I think I've told you this story before. We had a house in New Orleans for many years that was reported to be haunted by the builder, who was a retired Confederate general. The house was built in 1880 in Uptown New Orleans, and supposedly the general had been sighted in uniform in the house. We never did. I never did, and our family never did. But several people who were there, including the time we lived there, supposedly did see him. So, who knows? I just say, okay, take it for what it is.
I have a aunt in Savannah that I go see, and actually, I hope to go back to see her in April. And she had a house, and I'll tell you where it was at. It was a brick house on the corner of 48th and Bull Street. And me and my cousin was in there one day, and we heard like and we looked at each other, and we seen this shadow coming up the stairs, and it just went across the wall. And at first we're thinking that was my uncle, right? And then we realized there was nothing there to cast the shadow. And it went straight across the walls, and it was coming like to us. So we ran. My uncle had a room full of guns. Like, he had guns like lined the whole room. He's a redneck from Robinson County, North Carolina. He loves his guns. We both grabbed a long rifle. We sat there till someone come home. And where it went when we ran in that room, I don't know. But I know if anything had come in that room, it was toast. But that was my first paranormal. And then I was in the swamps, and I was out there Bigfooting. And we were taking pictures because we were having some activity. And we got this thing in a photograph. And it looked just like Michael Myers. It had the white face, and it was leaning like there was a tree there, and it was just half out of the tree looking at us. And I said, well, that's got to be pareidolia. But if you look in the water, it cast a reflection in the water. And I mean, you'll look just like Michael Myers. So, swamps are good places for psychos. So I don't know.
Lots of
No.
reports from the swamps and around New Orleans.
Yeah. Do you ever go out in the swamps or?
Occasionally, yeah. You know, people go fishing and hunting out there all the time. I'm a fisherman primarily, but there's lots of stories of all kinds about the swamps. You know, one of the good ones was the New Orleans Mafia was led by a guy named Carlos Marcello for many years. And what they used to do, the mafia, when they would whack somebody, is they would take them out of town, put them in a car, take them out of town into the swamp, and throw them into the water where they knew the alligators were, because the alligators would eat the evidence, they would eat the body. So there was never any evidence remaining. So that was a common thing.
I totally had a brain freeze, which is common for me. Now, do you ever go out there specifically looking for something?
I have not. Like I said, I go fishing fairly often, but I've not done any specific ghost hunts or anything like that out there.
Let me tell you, Sammy, let me tell you a movie to watch. It was back in, I think, the 80s or the 90s. It had to be the 90s. I'm not sure. But you would enjoy it because it captures the South perfectly. And what in the South is what is abnormal becomes normal. And we're very quirky people. But if you want to see the hoodoo and the voodoo captured in a movie, how it relates to Southern heritage, write this down. Look up Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Oh, I've seen that. It's a great movie.
It is. They do not make movies like that, but my uncle said those characters actually exist in Savannah. It's called Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. You need to
Savannah is kind of like the Protestant version of New Orleans. It's
like sister city.
Very old town, lots of interesting history.
Their police department, and you'll find this interesting, Sammy. Their police department is built beside a graveyard. It's this big brick building. So when they were building the police department, they kind of encroached in on the graveyard. So they took the tombstones and just laid them against the police department's gate. So so I think you would really enjoy coming down to the South and doing a little bit.
I'll have to.
Hit your ride with Ed. Hit your ride with Ed.
Yeah, come see us in New Orleans anytime.
I had a question for Sammy. What do you think about the shadow people that have seen?
Like, what do I think of them?
Well, what's your opinion on them? Are they disembodied spirits, demonic, or?
I think a little bit of both.
Yeah, I hear a lot of stories about these shadow people, which Miss V may have seen.
I don't know what it was, but it cast a shadow and it come up them daggum stairs and it come up that landing and it come around that wall, and we realized it did not belong to a person. It was a freelancing shadow coming across the wall, and I did not appreciate that one bit. I'm here to tell you, but I mean, hey, but I had a near-death experience, so I'm gonna tell you, heaven and hell is real. So that's just something that that's just something that I'm kind of about, So she was laying on my keyboard. Listen, kitty, this is about to get ugly. So, all right, let's go around the room.
She wants you to pay attention to her rather than the podcast.
That's what my cat's doing right now. He's attacking my feet.
I got Swamp Kitty that how dare you touch me, but you better love me and wait on me. Then I got this one that cannot get enough love, and I am not an affectionate person. So
it's my little guy.
Jenny friggin' Craig, Don. Jenny friggin' Craig.
He's lost a couple pounds. He's down to about 20 now. He gets a little chunky in the wintertime because he can't go out and play in the snow. So,
all right, let's do this. Then we'll put your information back there, and we'll get it tied up. Because I know, William, you have a storm coming in, don't you? And we got to finish prepping for one coming in too. Because I think what you guys are going to get is going to hit us tomorrow.
What are you guys getting?
Well, there's this big storm in the southeast it's going all the way from like southern Tennessee through Alabama, through Mississippi, and all the way down to New Orleans. We've had some wind and some heavy rain so far, but that's been about it. I know some other places have had tornadoes that have been pretty big, but so far, keep your fingers crossed, we haven't had anything, dramatic.
Do you think? Now we're going to go down the rabbit hole. I was watching Survival Dispatch tonight, and if you guys have never watched Survival Dispatch, I love it. The gentleman, the CEO, was on the show, just talking about just shooting bad guys and stuff. But they mentioned good, Riley, but you're in you're in Maine, Riley. They mentioned they had never seen winds and tornadoes like what hit Missouri. And I'm telling you, I think that when Hurricane Helene came, that was not supposed to be as major as it was. It wasn't. But it, in a flash, even before it picked up speed, they were talking about how bad the storm was going to be. I believe in my heart that it's weather manipulation. They're taking storms that normally would just blow by and do a little damage, and they're manipulating them using modified those weather. I mean, I know they see the clouds, but there's no reason for us to have the winds, the tornadoes that have become so aggressive and so intense. That's just my opinion. If you guys don't agree with it, I'd still like to have a conversation and hear your opinion on it if you don't agree.
Victoria, did you see the videos of the trucks on I-40 in Amarillo, Texas, being turned over by the wind? They're just blown straight over. If you look at it when you get a chance, it's fascinating.
Those were the 18-wheelers or normal passenger?
Yeah, 18-wheelers, full tractor trailers.
That's
Yeah. When there's a windstorm, I will not pass one on the road. I'll give a tractor trailer all the space they won't.
No, we're losing our magnetic shield around the Earth. We're down about 30%. They have found that the sun can increase the power of these storms. That's why hurricanes are getting stronger all the time each year. And the spinning of the Earth, the days have been getting shorter for the past 5 years. It's only microseconds right now, but each year we're having shorter days. The Earth is spinning slightly faster. So it all has to do with the sun, though. Right now is, they do have some papers on it. It's just the space, the radiation getting into the Earth and charging the Earth up. We're breaking lightning records every month, every week. More lightning strikes.
Look, a little Twister said all day. Oh, maybe it was talking to you. I don't know.
She says in a previous message, she says, I'm 30 miles north of I-40. Yesterday, we had 90-mile-per-hour winds.
Something is up with that. I'm sorry. All the fires, the winds coming. I'm sorry. Call me a conspiracist, but it just okay. Rusty, what's your theory, buddy?
Well, to begin with,
I
lived in Amarillo, Texas I lived in Amarillo, Texas for a long time, so it is notorious for being very windy. If you ever heard the term golden sandstorm, that was a real thing in the 1930s, particularly because the winds would get so high and the ground is so dry that it blows up the sand to the point that your vision is completely obstructed. It's like being in a heavy fog, and it's really just sand. So I don't know. I don't know that that's that big a deal that they had 90-mile-an-hour winds in Amarillo, Texas. Now, as it's coming east, which, as you said, has been coming there today during the day. There have been certainly unusually active tornadoes, and we're really not quite in tornado season yet, I don't think. But you know, I wish I had some concrete evidence on it. I know, I hear what you're saying, but I can't say I have any real concrete evidence to support even a hypothesis on that.
Sammy, you don't get off. You gotta have an opinion on it. This cat is driving me nuts, y'all.
No, we've been getting winds in the Northeast the past few years. They've been increasing. We've been getting crazy windstorms. So there is something going on, definitely.
Sammy,
Well, our winter this year has been the worst that it's been in like 10, 12 years. It's horrible. All the ice we've gotten and stuff. Usually our winters like aren't harsh up here, but this year it was bad.
Oh, we had an awful winter in New Orleans and on the Gulf Coast this year. We had 6 inches of snow in New Orleans, which is absolutely unheard of. In fact, on our other house, which is in Orange Beach, Alabama, on the Gulf of Mexico, there's actually snow on the beach at the Gulf of Mexico, which is unheard of.
in North Carolina, in our area, usually Christmas we're walking around in short sleeves and one day in shorts, and the next day, we're in scarves and coats. But I mean, it seems like this winter it was just cold, just dead straight cold. And we even got snow. We normally just get ice, but we even got snow. And I was like, well, I mean, maybe Mother Nature's waking up. But what do you think about the fog that's been going on? Everybody's talking about.
We've had lots of fog on the Gulf
Crickets.
Coast, all the way from New Orleans all the way over into Florida. We drove from the coast to New Orleans yesterday, and it was all along the drive on the I-10, which parallels the Gulf Coast. So it does seem to be a little more than usual. So why is that? I don't know.
Well, I know there was a report of sticky fog that just it just seems like it went away now, but you're getting it in England, all across the U.S. and it was like a foam when it was hit people's pools, and I don't know, it was there one day and gone the next.
Yeah, the weather's definitely changing. The Gulf Stream is slowing down also. I think it's down 20% right now. And that transfers heat around the earth, not just the Gulf Stream, but the ocean currents. It moves heat.
Sammy said I didn't sign up for this.
I was going to ask Sammy, any interesting weather changes in Pennsylvania at your place?
Just the winter.
I'm sorry, say it again.
What did you say?
Any interesting weather changes in Pennsylvania where you live?
Just the horrible winter. Horrible winter. Like ice storms galore.
Did you have a lot of snow this year?
Huh?
Did you have a lot of snow this year?
Oh, yeah. Like 3-4 feet at one time.
So Sammy, I actually have a question. I know, and I'm giving my age away, but I started law enforcement in the early 1990s, and we would have, in the winter, our radio frequencies would go so much further. We would actually hear a prison in Alabama doing roll call.
Oh, wow.
And it would cut, and it would bleed through on our frequencies, and we would hear it. And so I know in the winter, frequency is sharper and better than it is in the summer. Is there a particular season where, when it comes to paranormal activity, that it seems to amp up?
I've noticed just this past year, it amped up the fall and the winter.
Fall and winter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's something about the the clarity of the air, the crisp.
Yeah, less humidity.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that the frequency just travels better in. Because I mean, we could literally we had a conversation with the prison from our console, which is we had the same frequency, but we're on different systems. And during the summer, you never heard them, but when the air started getting a little bit more crisper and it was cooling off, you would hear roll call, bed check. And, you know, we keyed up one day and we were just told them where we were at. They're like, "You copied?" He's like, "We sure do." So I was like, "We got friends."
Yeah,
You
when
know?
there are storms down south, I can pick up on my CB. I can pick up truckers. The furthest one away I talked to was in Texas.
Wow.
It just the bouncing hit it just right. But it's always seemed to be when there was a storm or something going on with the weather down there.
Yeah, I was wondering if that made a difference when you were out actively seeking, especially with your equipment.
Yeah, we've noticed a lot in the fall.
You ever get like temperature changes in the room and
Oh yeah.
wow. Okay, tell us a little about that.
So what we've noticed, like usually when we're in contact with a spirit, the temperature will go down. It'll get much colder.
Wow.
Do you have like digital thermometers there or?
We have this device that I don't even know what it's called. My friend knows what it is, but it's a device that keeps track of the temperature and like what it is like just around us. And when we come in contact with something, it backs up like 4 or 5 degrees down. It gets so much colder.
Oh.
Yeah, here's a
Yeah.
question for I guess it'd go to you, Rusty. Lots of weird weather down south. Why you guys get targeted so much? I tell you what, Riley,
Got me.
go watch Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Didn't come back with me. I'm serious. Wonderful.
Oh,
Midnight
it's a
in the
great
Garden.
movie.
That movie was just, that is classic. I put it right there with Forrest Gump. That's just a wonderful movie. Wonderful, wonderful. So, Sammy, what's the worst thing that could happen, or what is an event that could happen to you where you would say no more, that would make you walk away from it?
I think if if I got possessed or someone were like at a place and one of my friends got possessed, I think that would be like a big thing to be like, what are you doing? You need to stop this.
Sure.
Now,
Has anyone got touched or scratched?
We've gotten touched a lot out at that church.
Ew. In your hair or yeah.
Your hair, or they like to tug the back of your shirt a lot, or like they touch your arms. But
well, a lot of churches are where people go to have their funerals and have their
Right.
dead in. But also, demons are, and you know, people say you have to be Catholic to preach out demons. But my uncle is a Pentecostal preacher. I've seen him preach out demons. I've seen him do it. You know, and the smell that sometimes is with it. But that was mostly during tent revivals. But so there's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of reasons, and there's a lot of dark history behind churches, and
that's
I
what we're
think,
finding out with this one. There's so many secrets we're finding.
good question.
Religions were pretty brutal a couple hundred years ago, you know.
Are there any gargoyles outside the church? Aren't they supposed to be a sign of protection?
I don't even know
Yes.
what a gargoyle is.
They're the little funky looking statues with like the wolf face and the big ears, and they're kind of always
Like wings, typically.
That
But yeah, I agree. Demons are ecumenical. They're not exclusive to the Roman Catholic Church.
yeah.
Right.
You're agreed. I hear a lot of people say you have to be a certain faith and have to have permission, but I mean, that's BS to me. I mean,
Right.
I'm sorry if I offend anyone, but I see my uncle pray them out. I've
Right.
seen people in the Holy Spirit, when we had those tent revivals back in the day, we would have those kerosene things that would blow out the flames to keep. I've seen their hair go in it and not get burnt. And I mean, that was the Holy Spirit, whether you agree with it or not. I seen it. I don't debate it, but I saw what I saw. So you're saying that if you ever got possessed or someone ever got possessed, do you think that inviting energy like that could cause you to get sick? Have you ever got sick after an investigation?
Yeah, just like a month and a half ago, we were out at the church, and my friend was doing the Estes method. She was under the Estes method, and I was asking questions, and like what she was saying was matching my questions, and then I was like it's just me and her there, so we're like by ourselves, and I like started to get real nauseated, like really sick. I like got her out of it. I was like, "Hey, I'm sick. Like, I wasn't sick when we got here, but I'm very nauseated." So we left there that night, and I took her home, and I went home. And when she got home, she started to get sick. We were both like, I went up to my bed, and I had the heat up to 85 because I was so cold. Like I was shivering so bad. And just the next day, I'm still like that. And then it had to have been the flu or something. But the fact that I was fine when we were at that church, and then we were there for a little bit, and then I got sick like that, and then she was the same way. She was nauseated, and she could not warm up.
Do you wear masks?
No.
No. Okay.
A little twisted said, does the church have a basement? I see something dark residing there.
Yes, there is a basement.
Yeah, Sammy mentioned seeing something. She's actually got a photo of I think that was from the basement, wasn't it, Sammy?
Yeah, let me show you since you missed it. My friend was going around just recording. We were there's no lights on, no nothing. And we caught two red eyes on him.
Oh.
You can see it.
Do you have any empaths on your team?
Yes.
You do. Are they usually the first ones to feel something?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little twisted said she's psychic. She felt a little something in that basement. Little twisted, is there anything you feel that you want to tell Sammy? Is there anything that you kind of feel like you want to tell Sammy about what's going on? Yep, that is it. It's evil. Yep. She said, that's it. It's evil.
Well, like I was
the
guys earlier, when we do investigations there, the preacher's still there, and he tells us all the time, do not go down in the basement. Like he knew something was there.
So they still have services there?
No. It's not
This
an
is the
abandoned.
spirit of the preacher, right? That was telling you this.
Yes. It's the church is not abandoned. A lady from California bought it. She remodeled it, and she wants it to be used. She's putting yoga in there and stuff. So no, it's not abandoned.
So the church is probably deconsecrated, which means they can't do services and so forth there.
Yeah. It closed down because they did not agree with same-sex marriage with the Methodist Church, so they closed it. If they would have agreed with it, they could have stayed open. But the congregation, there was only 6 of them by the time they closed, and they did not agree with it, so they lost the church.
But what's the history that would call? Do you even know anything, or do you get a feeling of the history of that church?
Do I know any history of the church?
Yeah, what's the history behind it? What's evil there?
We don't know anything like on the history, but like I do have history on it if you'd want to know.
Yeah, that'd be.
because the owner sent it to me and I wrote it down on these papers, so bear with me, okay? So the original congregation was Methodist, starts with an E, Episcopalian, something.
Episcopalian.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can't pronounce that word. It was founded in 1872 in it was called Pennville, but which became Grampian in 1895. The church building was constructed in 1891. The cemetery predates the church building. Emma Smith is the oldest recorded grave. She died in 1867 at the age of 2. The church was involved in a fire in the 1940s, and parts of the choir room and roof were rebuilt. The church became St. Paul's Methodist Church in the 1960s. Ronald Dunworth and Brian Bilger were electrocuted on July 1st of 1982 while working on the church roof. Both died instantly. Lou Ann Bloom Anderson embezzled everything from 2004 to 2024. The church had its last service in May of 23 after voting to leave the United Methodist Church. Veterans from the following wars are buried there: Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and Gulf Wars. The oldest person buried in the cemetery was born in 1816. The only cemetery in Grampian with a Bigfoot statue. A minister was defrosted after he left Grampian because he divorced his wife in 1911. And then this one's great. Well, I just learned this one today. A guy was arrested in the church shrubbery in 1946 after a car chase.
Huh.
That's what I got.
Now, going
was
back to
Mitch
those
Chestnut.
2 electricians, you said the wind blew
Yes.
their ladders back?
Yes, they were up on the ladders. And they were working. And
Sounds like they fell into a high tension wire.
yes,
Ah, there's a cat.
wires, like the big wires, and the ladders hit it because they both got electrocuted, and they laid in that lawn for 15 minutes before anyone found them.
Was there 2 ladders
Yes,
and they both blew back at like the same time?
yes.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
odd. That's a strong wind.
It gets very windy up there.
Okay.
So a little twisted said she feels like there's some symbology there. Next time, pay attention to the trim, mold, and she thinks that there may have been rituals in the basement.
I'll definitely have to look.
And Riley says, yeah, I was thinking native history related to the land. It was talking to Twisted on that. I asked her, did she feel like there was anything, for whatever reason, slavery just keeps coming to mind, but I'm not psychic.
That part of Pennsylvania, Victoria, was notorious for the Underground Railroad.
That's what
So
she's
it certainly
saying.
could have been. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, now I see it.
Yeah, for whatever reason, slavery was just, I was like, but Little Twister said she got it on cue, possibly under Brown Railroad slavery. Knowing the history of a place becomes very interesting and intriguing, especially with the land itself. Yeah, I'd be curious what you could find at the courthouse or the local library.
Right.
Do you think you've documented anything to do with slaves?
No, we haven't gotten anything yet from there.
I would be interested if a local historian could tell you about.
Well, the crazy thing is the owner reached out to the local historian and they will not give any information.
Huh. Bad juju.
That's what we think. Like, why not let us know the history? We just think there's so many secrets there, and the townspeople do not want people to know about.
She could go to the archives at the newspaper or the public library and probably dig and find. I would be really, really. Twisted says, "I'm telling you, that place gives me the chills. Be sure to protect yourself next time you go." You said you had a crystal and that you patted your pocket when you said it
Yeah.
earlier. Hey, Judy, 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 Judy. I love Judy. I like saying the name Judy. So is there anything else you want to touch on, Sammi, that we didn't get out there, or and I've never been there. It's the energy I'm feeling. Land has energy. Amen.
Was when that lady, when Becky first bought the place and she was out there before the realtor got there, she said whatever was out there made her sick, and she was freaked out. She's like, that was the longest hour and 45 minutes I had to wait for my realtor. She said that's when like started messaging us because she was out there.
So Selena and Judy joined in the conversation. We're having a conversation with Sammi, and she's paranormal investigators. She was just speaking about a church that she's had some really negative activity in. Do you guys have any questions for her? Judy, 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 and Selena. Judy, Judy, Judy. I just love the Mayberry thing.
Oh, I have one. So, Sammi, your last name is Courteau.
Yes.
That's
That's good French or good Louisiana name. Is that are you native to Louisiana, or is there somebody in your family who is?
My husband says that's his last name.
Wow. So I don't see any questions in the chat. So Sam, is there anything you want to put out there or you want to touch on before we close out tonight?
Mm-mm.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed Don and Rusty.
Yeah.
Rusty jumped on last moment for me, and I actually had to put it on Don the last moment. So I apologize, and don't mean any disrespect by being late to your show. And I hope you come back. Maybe we'll get some more paranormal people. You can have a paranormal roundtable. Or so tell us about your up and coming events.
Just our big one.
That's in October.
Yeah, October 3rd through the 5th.
And it's in Pennsylvania. What's the address?
4867 Chestnut Road Highway, Grampian.
And where can they find you on Facebook at Down Home Paranormal?
Yep, Down Home Paranormal.
And you guys are going to have a little bit of UFO stuff, a little Bigfoot stuff, and a little paranormal stuff.
Yep.
And
We'll have vendors, food trucks.
So if someone wants to be a vendor, would they contact you?
Yes. Yep.
All right. That's wonderful. Little Twisted said thank you to all of you guys, and Riley said you were a cool host, and I always said I got cool friends. And
Well, I can't possibly fill Victoria's shoes, but I did the best I could.
Oh no, you did great, Rusty.
podcasts out there. Rusty has started. Look, Sammi, listen. Southern Belle said, Sammi, she'll go check you out. Rusty, put your podcast out there and tell them what it's about.
Oh, the Blues Doctor Recommends is the official name of the podcast. If you hadn't guessed by now, I am in fact a physician, retired now, but I'm also sort of a semi-professional musician. So our podcast is about medical stuff as it applies to the general community, particularly cancer or oncology, as well as blues music, which I've been playing for many years, and music in general, and even some high strangeness. Like we've talked a lot about Bigfoot. We've talked about a little bit about a variety of other things. So it's kind of the things I'm interested in, and I try to give it sort of a pleasant or make it sort of a pleasant experience, and not entirely serious, so that people will enjoy it and get kind of a laugh out of it at the same time.
Oh,
You got a subscriber.
And I'll put a link in the chat here.
Okay. Are you on YouTube?
Yes. Yeah, I'm about to put it in there if I can find it.
And we'll jump over and we'll subscribe to your Facebook, Sammi.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
we'll
I
let
haven't
him-
ventured into YouTube yet. I'm not that tech person.
Oh, you got to go live. Your videos got to be better than my live videos. So, did you put it in chat yet, Rusty? I don't see it.
I'm working on it.
Oh, do I need to do the do Jeopardy music?
I'm just lame. I still am figuring out all this electronic stuff, digital stuff.
Well, Don, you've got a YouTube channel too.
Sort of. I have a channel. Not that I put much on it. At some point,
All right,
I
there it
probably
goes.
should.
All right, we're going to leave that up there a few minutes so folks can see that. So you guys are forced to have another conversation, so I can have that up there a few moments. So,
So Vicky, what's your next adventure, or what's your next investigation? Do you have one on tap?
We have had an uptick in activity around here. There's been activity reported around here it goes back 40 years. And we just, right down the road at Fun Level, we had a gentleman that found tracks, and he's been wanting us to go out there. Lillington's a really hot spot. Lots of reports there, to include UFOs. Cape Fear River is a really hot spot. And here's the weird thing. Missing 411 did a YouTube, what am I trying to say? He did a piece about our area and the Hope Mills area, Lillington, Bun Level, which is where we're at. And it's really weird because we've been working it and gathering, a lot of encounters here and looking at the history, and then you're going to YouTube, and then you have something like Missing 411 pop up talking about your area and the weirdness in the area, and it's like a triangle, and the Cape Fear River is kind of right in the middle of it. And then where I had the best activity in my life is the next county over, Robinson County. So, I mean, it's a hotbed here, but the bad part is when, Pilates put it out there, you're probably going to have, people flooding in and ruin the area now. But, here it's a very close community. We're country people, mostly farmers and, people that live off the land. So they'll talk to you when they're comfortable, but you would be amazed on how many of the older folks here and our elders that share stories going back 20, 30 years. But the tracks down the road from us was found about a year ago. And if you go on the UFO, there's an app you can download for UFOs right there in Lillington. The gentleman's a business owner. He won't give the exact location, but his wife's had 2 encounters right there in Lillington. But you also have John Futeway that had 2 encounters in Raven Rock Park, which is also in Lillington. So has it always been there? Yes, but for some reason we're getting an uptick in activity and people talking to us. And then you had Missing 411 put it out there. So we're like, yeah, they're going to be everywhere. But the area we went the other night, we tried to go live. I did delete it because they're get too specific about some people. That area, the gentleman that was giving us the information was out there with us. They will not go out at night because of some screams. And these are people that they hunt all the time. He did say he was coming up the road, and he said he thought it was a bear until it stood up, but it had like a orange reflection in the eyes. And he said it went from all fours to bipedal and it ran off. And because he didn't know anything with Bigfoot, he was like, man, that was strange. What was that? They couldn't. So he started talking to his cousin, and his cousin says, 30 years ago, I saw a Bigfoot cross the road right there. He was like, well, it's still around, but the reports we're getting, there's like an orange reflection in the eyes. So I don't know if that's dilating or, I mean, you would know more about that, Rusty, than I would.
Who knows? I was going to ask Sammy too. Sammy, do you have any upcoming investigations?
Nope, we just usually just someone messages like out of the group and be like, does anyone want to just go to a random place and go? And that's what we usually do.
Awesome.
I know Saturday, so it'll be next weekend. We're planning on going back out to the church.
All right. Well, Don, you want to close us out, buddy?
Okie doke. All right. Well, we'd like to thank everyone in the chat. We really appreciate everyone showing up, asking questions. And I'd like to thank Sammy, and definitely want to thank Rusty. You did a great job. Thanks for help. And I think that's it, right? I think we're done.
Make sure to
So
like and subscribe and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like and subscribe. And
like and subscribe to all three of them.
yeah, we got the links up there, right, for Rusty's? Did it go up?
Correct.
We were running our mouth while it was up there.
And Sammy is Down Home Paranormal in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
All right. Well, everyone, have a great night. And thank you, everyone. And
good night.
We'll see you all next week.
Bye, Sammy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.